Hi children, today we will discuss the second part of Unit 3, Black Aeroplane by Frederick Forsyth. Frederick McCarthy Forsyth is an English author best known for thrillers and crime fiction. His works frequently appear on bestseller lists and more than a dozen of his works have been adapted to films. Black Aeroplane is about a pilot's adventurous journey through a storm. The Black Aeroplane. The moon was coming up in the east behind me, and stars were shining in the clear sky above me. There wasn't a cloud in the sky. I was happy to be alone, high up above the sleeping countryside. I was flying my old Dakota aeroplane over France back to England. I was dreaming of my holiday and looking forward to being with my family. I looked at my watch, 1:30 in the morning. So the pilot was alone, flying his old Dakota aeroplane from France to England, and he was dreaming of his holiday and a time that he would spend with his family. And the time was 1:30 in the morning. I should call Paris control soon, I thought. As I looked down past the nose of the aeroplane, I saw the lights of a big city in front of me. I switched on the radio and said, Paris control, Dakota DS-088 here. Can you hear me? I'm on my way to England. Over. The voice from the radio answered me immediately. DS-088, I can hear you. You ought to turn 12 degrees west now. DS-088, over. So nothing to be explained, is very clear. We'll move on. I checked the map and the compass, switched over to my second and last fuel tank, and turned the Dakota 12 degrees west towards England. Okay, so here what you have to keep in mind is that he switched over to his second and last fuel tank, and he followed the instructions given from the Paris control. I'll be in time for breakfast, I thought. A good big English breakfast. Everything was going well. It was an easy flight. Being an experienced pilot, it was almost everything was going normal, nothing to be afraid of. So he thought of the breakfast that he would have, maybe having after a long time, so he longed for that. Paris was about 150 kilometers behind me when I saw the clouds. Storm clouds. They were huge. They looked like black mountains standing in front of me across the sky. I knew I could not fly up and over them, and I did not have enough fuel to fly around them to the north or south. So suddenly the situation changed. Minutes ago he told that everything was quite well. But now suddenly storm clouds started forming, and they looked like big black mountains standing in front of him. And he knew that he could not fly up over them, and he didn't have enough fuel to fly around them to the north or south. I ought to go back to Paris, I thought. But I wanted to get home. I wanted that breakfast. I'll take the risk, I thought, and flew that old Dakota straight into the storm. So what was the risk that he took? He knew that he should go back to Paris. The storm was that huge, and he didn't have enough fuel. So he was supposed to, what he should have done was he should go back to Paris. But the breakfast and the time that he can be with his family tempted him, and he decided to take the risk and flew. And the Dakota also is every time mentioned very old. Flew that old Dakota straight into the storm. Inside the clouds, everything was suddenly black. It was impossible to see anything outside the aeroplane. The old aeroplane jumped and twisted in the air. I looked at the compass. I couldn't believe my eyes. The compass was turning round and round and round. It was dead. It would not work. The other instruments were suddenly dead too. I tried the radio. Paris control? Paris control? Can you hear me? There was no answer. The radio was dead too. I had no radio, no compass, and I could not see where I was. I was lost in the storm. Then, in the black clouds quite near me, I saw another aeroplane. It had no lights on its wings, but I could see it flying next to me through the storm. I could see the pilot's face turned towards me. I was very glad to see another person. He lifted one hand and waved. "Follow me," he was saying. "Follow me." He knows that I am lost, I thought. He's trying to help me. So when he was alone, everything got dead. He couldn't contact Paris control. And suddenly he saw another plane. And he was look at the line. I could see the pilot's face turned towards me. I was very glad to see another person. Naturally, when we are in trouble, when we are all alone, suddenly we see another person, even if he is a stranger, you will feel happy that there is someone along with you, at least to share your problem. So here he felt a bit happy when he saw another pilot. And the pilot also was very helpful. He lifted one hand and showed, "Follow me." He knows that I am lost, I thought. He's trying to help me. He turned his aeroplane slowly to the north in front of my Dakota so that it would be easier for me to follow him. I was very happy to go behind the strange aeroplane like an obedient child. So without questioning, without asking who you are, where you are heading to, like an obedient child, he was very happy to follow that. Wherever he was going, he was very happy to follow the other plane. He didn't know anything about the pilot or where the aeroplane was heading to. After half an hour, the strange black aeroplane was still there in front of me in the clouds. Now, there was only enough fuel in the old Dakota's last tank to fly for 5 or 10 minutes more. I was starting to feel frightened again. But then he started to go down and I followed through the storm. So he started following the other aeroplane. But then he realized he had only that much fuel in his tank, which will allow him to fly for 5 or 10 minutes more. So again he started getting frightened. Okay, there is another plane, he is leading me, but what will happen if the fuel gets over? But then he realized that the other plane was going down and I followed through the storm. Suddenly I came out of the clouds and saw 2 long straight lines of lights in front of me. It was a runway, an airport. I was safe. I turned to look for my friend in the black aeroplane, but the sky was empty. There was nothing there. The black aeroplane was gone. I could not see it anywhere. I landed and was not sorry to walk away from the old Dakota near the control tower. So I landed. He doesn't know which place it is. So usually, in normal cases, if we reach such a place where we don't know anything about the place, it's a new place for you, you will be very reluctant to leave your vehicle there just like that and go, right? But here he says that I landed and was not sorry to walk away from the old Dakota near the control tower. But he didn't feel anything. He didn't feel insecure that how can I leave my Dakota here. There can be 2 reasons. First of all, he was very anxious to know which the place was and who the other pilot was. Secondly, the Dakota was very old. So maybe that is also one reason that he was not much bothered. I went and asked the woman in the control center where I was and who the other pilot was. I wanted to say thank you. She looked at me very strangely and then laughed. Another aeroplane? Up there in the storm? No other aeroplanes were flying tonight. Yours was the only one I could see on the radar. Radar, you know, it's a system for detecting the presence, direction, distance and speed of aircraft and other objects by sending out pulses of radio waves. So only your plane was there. So who helped me to arrive there safely without a compass or a radio and without any more fuel in my tanks? So everything was against him. He didn't have a compass, he didn't have a radio, and not enough fuel in the tank. And above all, it was stormy also. Who was the pilot on the strange black aeroplane flying in the storm without lights? The story ends there, but now we have to think, who is that? Who was the person? Who was the other pilot? Yes, none other than that supreme power whom we call God. His unseen hands who came to the pilot's rescue, even without asking. Children, this story gives us a strong message that God sends help in mysterious ways. Here, God sent help in the form of another pilot, a stranger, who helped him. We should pray to God that we should be able to recognize Him in any form and be ever grateful to Him. Now, the scientific explanation is that the response to fear can contradict our conscious assessment of danger. Your unconscious mind is not a black box of fear, but a powerhouse of thought. With this, we can also come to a conclusion that it could be the pilot himself who flew out of the storm and must have hallucinated about the black aeroplane and the unknown pilot. As the pilot was experienced, his subconscious mind must have taken over when his conscious mind was filled with fear and anxiety. So these are the two possibilities of what might have happened. So that is the story. Hope you understood. Now you have to answer questions 1 and 2 from thinking about the text. So altogether, as assignment, you will do from this whole unit as in unit 3. Questions 2 and 3 of page 36, I'll read out. That is from his first flight. The sight of the food maddened him. What does this suggest? What compelled the young seagull to finally fly? And next question. They were beckoning to him, calling shrilly. Why did the seagull's father and mother threaten him and cajole him to fly? So these two questions from his first flight, and from black aeroplane, you will do the first two ones. I'll take the risk. What is the risk? Why does the narrator take it? And second one, describe the narrator's experience as he flew the aeroplane into the storm. So total 4 question answers you will do. Okay, thank you.